Greetings and welcome to another life-changing episode of Probe. Have you heard that marriage is a covenant relationship? Have you wondered what that means? These days, when marriages break up so easily, we must learn what God says about marriage and its purpose. Let's listen as Dr. Lata Christie talks to Dr. Nirmala Abraham about marriage in the cosmic story.
In this season of Probe, we have been looking at the cosmic story of how God created the universe and all of us human beings. In the next few episodes, we will look at human relationships and how things have gone wrong in God's perfect cosmos. In Christian marriage, the union between a man and a woman is instituted and ordained by God as the lifelong relationship between one man as husband and one woman as wife. The Apostle Paul gave a similar directive when he wrote, "Let marriage be held in honor among all." And Hebrews 13:4 says, "Marriage should be honored by all and the marriage bed kept pure, for God will judge the adulterer and all the sexually immoral." Dr. Christie, we are truly honored to have you here with us once again. Thank you for sparing your time to be with us today. You have been saying that human beings are the epitome of God's creation and that God made the male and female and instituted the first marriage. Adam and Eve were the first couple. So marriage is actually a central theme of the Bible because Genesis starts with a marriage,
yes,
and Revelation ends with the wedding feast of the Lamb. So what is the biblical model of marriage? Do you think the husband is supposed to be the head in financial matters, family matters and spiritual matters, and is he supposed to be like a priest in the family?
What you mean by a priest, I feel in those days priest will come before a man and God. He is supposed to go and stand before God and ask for forgiveness for human being,
right,
and then come and tell human being, this is what God says. But in New Testament, Peter says that you are a holy nation, you are the priesthood, royal priesthood, you are a holy nation, you are a holy people for God. So he doesn't differentiate at that time between man and woman. He says that all of you are priests to God. And that too, one more place the Bible in the New Testament says, Paul clearly says that there is no intermediary between you and God. It's only Jesus Christ. Because of Jesus' death on the cross, he stands as an intermediary between you and God. So every relation in the world is about you and God. How every relation is used to make you closer to God. So in a marriage, like if a husband is a priest, you mean like he cannot stand between wife and God. A wife has a separate relation with God and a man has a separate relation with God. Together they worship God.
At the same time, is it right to say that the father has to take on, or the husband has to take on the spiritual responsibility in the family, like calling everyone for family prayer and making sure that they all follow the Lord? So that kind of a responsibility, I don't think he should abdicate it to the wife, because I find in many Christian families, the husband doesn't bother about spiritual things. It's a wife who is given all the responsibility of seeing that the children are brought up in a Christian way. Don't you think the husband should also take on the responsibility?
Yes, husband should also take care. And many times you see in a prayer meeting, many times women are there than men. And church also, if you see, many times women come more than men. But the thing is, it is like mutually, men have to take responsibility and women have to take responsibility. It is like not delegating this responsibility of spiritual matters to anybody else. So if, for example, a day that when a husband calls for a prayer, come, then automatically wife comes because she respects her husband. So it is not that who is the head or anything, but it is better if the husband takes the responsibility and if he calls that way you model a beautiful relationship in a family and the husband becomes a spiritual head. But in some cases, if it doesn't happen, there is no use in blaming, and it is like trying to bring him closer to Christ. So marriage,
the woman should step in.
That is the main reason. God is the center of the marriage.
Yes.
Bible says that 3 cords will never be broken. So when
a cord of 3 strands will not be broken.
A cord of 3 strands can never be broken. Because when God becomes a central person in a marriage, that marriage will never be broken, because everything is about God.
Yeah.
It is not about a husband, or it's not about wife. Normally we associate marriage is about husband and wife. We forget the central most figure in that, Jesus Christ.
So the husband and the wife are standing in front of God, who's the central figure.
Yes, because God is the center, and that vertical relationship with God translates into the husband and wife horizontal relation.
True.
And a husband has a relation with God and a wife has a relation with God, and automatically you see both of them will love each other, because God is love. And 1 John 3:16 says, based on this you know that, behold what a love the Lord has given, and that love gets translated. That is the model.
And Ephesians 5:1 says, follow God's example therefore as dearly loved children. Now the father is the head of the family. Father is a provider and he is a protector. But in Ephesians 6:4 Paul says, and you fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the word. And this the fathers have to do with gentleness and grace and with love, isn't it? And father should be like a servant leader, not a dominating dictator of a person in the family.
Yes, in a family, father figure is very, very important. Many children you can see now on the roads, you can see the lack of a father figure has the reason for many children who have gone astray.
Right.
That's why God modeled himself as a spiritual father. And the role of father is like a spiritual head. So then the biblical model of marriage is God as the center. As I said, it's not about you or husband or whatever it is. It's between God and everything, like in the things happening, the everyday relationship, God becomes the center, and he uses conflicts also. Sometimes it's not a life is, people think now a marriage is like a fairy tale, and marriage means,
and they
like,
lived happily ever after.
And it's like a fairy tale, and all the time you are into a honeymoon relation. And when that doesn't happen, they think I have fallen out of love, and that's why I'm going out. It's nothing like falling out of love or in love. It's a commitment.
Yes.
It's a commitment, and that is a commitment made before God. That is the biblical model of marriage. And that marriage will also take conflicts, will also take problems, and will also take sufferings, and then mold everything to bring both of them closer to God. And when both of them become closer to God, 3 of them, God, husband and wife, will all the people form a beautiful relation. Even amidst problems, amidst confusions, everything will be resolved because there is somebody else in between them. That's the model.
Now the world's idea of marriage is something different. People are pursuing their self-interest and self-realization or self-fulfillment. Could you just tell us what is the biblical model of marriage?
So world's model of marriage and biblical model of marriage, if you compare, I would say like world's model will most of the time it fails. For example, people expect to find a soulmate and somebody who can complete them. They think that I want to find someone who can complete me.
Right.
But when you give the position of God to somebody else, you want someone else to play God, and you are prone to fail.
Absolutely.
And one more thing is that selfishness many times come in the world's, why you are marrying, if you ask a boy, and in a world standard, like you get more dowry in sometimes in Indian context, and I get a girl to wash my clothes, I get a girl to cook for me, I get a girl who to speak with me, whatever it is, like it's more than a companion or a partnership. They expect something from someone, and it is because they expect that marriage should fulfill their narcissistic, their selfish needs. So what happens when you get a girl just for her money's sake, or you get a boy also because he's working in some place and he belongs to some things and because of that you are getting him, then what happens? Selfishness creeps in. When selfishness creeps in, few things happens, like you don't listen when someone comes with their problems to you. You want them to listen to you, but you don't listen to them. You feel bored, you feel tired, and I'm not interested in listening. And sometimes when they want something, you give silent treatment to them. So that's all because of selfishness. Then again, all the time your perspective is right. You don't take the other person's perspective, and you want to control the situation. You want to talk about their relatives, their friends, and you want them to do everything what you want them to do. And by chance they don't follow your standard, you threaten to end it. So this sort of selfishness, wherever it creeps in, then it dooms to fail, because that is the difference between a biblical model. Biblical model, it is selflessness.
So you mentioned people trying to get completeness from the partner. So in other words, what you're saying is that you first try to be complete in God, first try to get love from God and try to be fulfilled in God, and then you get involved in marriage relationship. So you won't expect all those things from your partner.
Yes, many times we wrongly expect from wrong side.
Yes.
Because God has given us a love tank. Everybody has a love tank, you assume, like it's a thought experiment.
Right.
Like I have a love tank, he has a love tank, and then my love tank, I expect him to appreciate me, to do something for me.
To fill your tank.
To fill my tank, and he expects that I have to fill his tank. And whenever something I do wrong and the tanks get emptied.
So but we have to fill our tanks with God.
So instead of this one, as you said, if you fill our tank with God every day, sitting with him and gets fully filled, even when the other one, sometimes that day he is in some,
you have enough to share.
And then when this one isn't wrong, he has enough to share. That's why I said God as the center of any marriage. It's not about husband and wife, it's about everything about you and God.
Today, you know, if you ask any young person, what are you looking for in marriage now? What kind of a person are you looking for? They'll say, I want a person who can be a perfect partner for me. I want a perfect husband or a perfect wife. So I usually tell them, don't look for a perfect husband or a perfect wife. You be the perfect husband or the perfect wife for somebody else. So then the question of expectation doesn't come, right?
Yes, that's what, when selfishness gives in for selflessness. How you want others to treat you. Jesus said, how you want others to treat you, treat them. And Sermon on the Mount is extraordinary.
Yes.
If you can follow that, your every relationship will be at par.
Absolutely. And Jesus said, you are here to serve. And
not to be served.
Yeah, and not to lord it over people.
Yes.
He said the people in this world, they lord it over others, but not so with you.
Yes.
You are here to serve, Jesus said.
Yes.
And that's what we need to practice even in marriage relationship, right?
Yes.
Today I find that divorce has become so common, even among Christians. The divorce rate has gone up so much. What do you think is the reason that the divorce rate is going up now?
Once Billy Graham said that he and his wife are so happy because he said that a happy marriage is the union of two great forgivers.
Ah, yes.
He said that it was a great thing, eye-opener for me. So
it's not the absence of problems.
Yes, because sometimes we think that a happy marriage, a perfect marriage is a perfect happiness, a conflict-free living, all these things we think.
Yes.
But actually a happy marriage is partnership, spiritual companion. It's like when you pray, you can share the burdens with someone, pray together, and you get worship together, ability to understand, ability to listen. So when that happens, it doesn't fail at all. And that's what, when you don't expect in others and you provide, your marriage will succeed.
I heard a joke once. A couple who had been married for some 50 or 60 years, somebody asked, what's the secret of your marriage? A happy marriage and such a long marriage. The wife said, well, the secret of our happy marriage is that I allow him to take all the major decisions in our marriage. For example, he decides, should there be a war in the Middle East, or should America attack so and so country, or should India have nuclear power, and things like that. Important matters he decides. But all small matters like, should we buy a house, or where should our children go to school, or should we go for a holiday? Such small matters I decide. So that's the decide.
Yes,
I was
so
asking you about divorce.
Yes.
Why is it so common today?
They think the others as their soulmate. They think that they can all the time, it's a honeymoon experience. All the time you expect something from someone. You enter into marriage expecting something, and it is not for you. Expect everything from God, and you come here to give. So that when that doesn't happen in today's atmosphere,
You are disillusioned.
yeah, and that too, one more problem in today's atmosphere is it's all about digital. You see some two people sitting together having dinner, they all the time is in their WhatsApp, into their mobile, into their Facebook,
Right.
and you don't look into each other's eyes. You look into your iPad, you look
You are
into your
sitting together, but your minds are not together.
Yes.
Your hearts are not together.
all the time TV will be on in the house. All the time your iPads will be here, and all the time you want to work on something. Where is the time for one another?
Yes.
You don't have time for God. You don't have time for one another. There is no time for relationship. Then how we expect that a marriage can grow? Because a marriage is give and take. How you know one another, how you, as each passing day, the knowledge of one another should become so sweet. That is the way God designed. And in recent generation of digital world and TV and all these things, people sit hours together before TV.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the major reason for divorce, where you
Rate
don't
going up.
understand divorce rates going up.
But then even in the olden days, there were quite a few marriages which were not really working out. But people, I think, just put up with each other because they didn't want the label of divorce, or maybe the woman didn't have economic independence, was dependent on the husband, and so she didn't want a divorce, and so various reasons they just kept on going. Don't you think so?
Yes, they say that in India, that is, many of the marriages are still there, because even though they don't talk inside their house for years together. I recently came to know about a husband and wife who has never talked for the last 20 long years.
Imagine. Under the same roof?
Yes. And one of my friend whose father recently died, she said her father lives on the first floor and her mother lives on the ground floor, and they are still married. So I don't feel that is the model for marriage, because you lose yourself, you lose everything, and then it is like an emptied one. That is not the way God has designed marriage for.
Unless there is communication in the family, there is no point in going
Communication is the most important thing, and listening to one another is the most important thing that makes a marriage strong. Because without communication, without direct communication, that's why even God wants us to directly communicate to Him. There is no priest in between.
Right. Now, in your book, When the Flame Flickers, Emerging from Marital Abuse,
Yes.
you have written about divorce, and when it becomes very, very difficult, and when what happens, and about giving a long rope before divorcing. I want you to tell us, how long should that rope be before divorce?
This book is about domestic violence. Domestic violence is a totally different subject.
Yes.
It's not that easy to understand. It's not beating. It's more than beating.
Of course.
It is not alcoholism. It is more than that. It is not even about control. It is something exactly everything together.
There are different types of violence.
Domestic violence. When Jesus also said to His disciples that when in some place you are there, when they don't accept you, free from that place. He never asked them to be martyrs.
You can use the word doormat.
Yes.
God doesn't expect you to be a
doormat or kill yourself, allow others to kill you. So I have given some circumstances when you are prone to go mad, when you are prone to get killed,
Yes.
when you are prone to feel in a relationship that it is so degrading that you are going to lose yourself in every way. At that time, how you will assess yourself and what is the longest way, because relationship is more important, marriage is more important. That's why devil tries to break it at every point. The dysfunctional family sometimes tries to trouble children in their later years. That's why I have given a long rope, because you understand when you have this condition, then you have to go for divorce.
Yes. Depends on what are the circumstances and what is happening in the marriage.
There are some conditions for divorce in Bible, it has been given.
So can you tell us something about domestic violence, how it can happen to people of different age groups and races and religion and socioeconomic status and so on?
Domestic violence is the intimidation of anyone. Like abuse is mainly about control.
Yes.
It's intimidation of your intimate partner. It is the worst crime where anybody can commit, because the one whom you love, you hit, and the one who expects love from you is one time feeling so much love, and the other time she is at your feet like a puppy getting beaten up, and the other time she is in your hand like a queen. So it becomes like 1 minute you treat her like a queen, open the car door before others and give her a bouquet, and the second
when others
minute,
are watching.
Yes, even otherwise also when you feel that she will run away from you, you do all sort of chocolates and whatever you want you give her, so that
So it's like a cycle.
yes, it's a cycle, and then you feel that next minute she will be groveling like under your feet like a puppy, or like a chain, you just break it down. So that victim goes crazy, they go mad. Many of the victims whom I have seen in domestic violence shelters, her one lady has almost gone crazy because she believes that she is mad. It is because of her all these things have happened. It's totally a
So they feel guilty and they take on the blame for it.
because all the time they are blamed. You are the reason for your own hitting. They get hit, and then they are also told the reason you are getting hit is because of your personal problem. And so she starts believing, I might be changing, and whatever change it happens, it again it repeats. So it's a complex cycle. Abuse is somebody takes your power, your voice, your rights, then it's an abuse.
Yes.
Whether they do it with a fist or whether they do it with a bouquet.
In India there's a saying, Pati Bhagwan hai. Now when I read the Bible, I find that in 1 Samuel chapter 25 there is a story, very interesting story, about this woman called Abigail, whose husband Nabal was a very foolish man. And so he irritated David so much that David was a very powerful man, and David decided to just kill all of them because he was so angry. And so because of the wisdom of this lady, who did not behave like a slave and obey the husband and stayed there, so because of her wisdom, her family was spared. You know, Abigail made the protection of her household a priority over obeying her irrational and violent husband who was irritating David. And also, she didn't wait for her husband's permission to do something like this, because she would have never got permission, and she wasn't afraid to identify what was the mistake in her husband. So tell us, what does the Bible say about a husband being your Bhagwan?
I said as earlier, you should never keep anybody in the place of God.
Yes.
Not even your children, not even your husband. Your husband is not your God. Your children are not your gods. Many people try to think everything husband is providing, husband is doing, so he is their God. It is not that way. God's position, once you start giving to anybody, there is problems are grown to occur. Bible clearly says you respect your husband, you love your wife.
Yes.
That's all. So it's so crystal clear, and Pati Bhagwan hai is in those days they think like that, and they do puja to Pati, and they keep him in some high pedestals, and that
has helped also in the propagation of abuse. And
yes, first you obey God. When someone is not allowing you to obey God, that doesn't mean you have to obey them.
Yes. Psalm 7:9 says, bring to an end the violence of the wicked and make the righteous secure. You, the righteous God who probes minds and hearts. So it's a plea for God to end all this violence. Abuse is so prevalent in India and all over the world because many men have this sense of entitlement. They feel that they have ownership of their wives, as though the wife is their property. How can we end this kind of mindset?
Marriage, you get dowry and you get a wife. You get both money and you get a wife to clean, to help, to cook, and to do whatever
so
you want.
Sort of
whatever you want, your whims and fancies, you have got someone to do it.
You have a free servant in the house.
Yes.
In the Bible, if you see, when Abraham sent his servant to look for a wife for his son Isaac, he is the one who gave dowry to the girl's
Yes.
family, right? So if you have to give dowry, the boy has to give to the wife's family and not this way. There are some women who have been abused by their mothers-in-law. But then when they themselves become mothers-in-law a few years later, they start abusing their daughters-in-law.
Because
Women are their own enemies sometimes, right?
yes, they have made a survey with women and they found this undercurrent of jealousy, undercurrent of telling wrong about someone
Yes.
from women. Because that's why the glass ceiling is more prominent. Women cannot tolerate another women coming to a leadership position.
Right.
Many women are good supportive
Of
to the
course,
other
of
women,
course there are.
and it is such a pleasure. I have got a lot of women friends. Next time when you feel jealous with some other women, go and appreciate them.
Yes.
And the jealousy goes away.
Right.
And Mary Kay said that everybody wears a big thread on their forehead, make me feel important. So every woman I feel has that big
Right.
slogan that make me feel. So if you see another woman, go and tell how beautiful
Appreciate
she
them.
is,
Yes.
how great she is,
Exactly.
and automatically you will get their
Yes.
love and you will get a
Yes.
great friendship in that
Right.
woman. I think this notion should be changed.
We really appreciate your being here, Dr. Christy.
Thank
It
you.
was such a wonderful
Yes.
episode about women and about marriage and divorce. Friends, God instituted marriage so that the couple can serve God together, start a family and manage what God gives and increase in number. God was involved directly in the first marriage. The relationship between God, Adam and Eve was perfect. There are two relations in this relationship, vertically and horizontally. Horizontally, it was Adam and Eve. Vertically, God and the couple. So marriage would be very stable when the relationship is a triangle.
That was intriguing, wasn't it? A covenant is based on trust and it cannot be broken. Marriage is a relationship that is worth investing into. Please write to us if you have any issues or you need prayer and counseling at writetoprobe@gmail.com. Till next week, ciao and God bless. Domestic violence and abuse.
Some women are driven to the point of nervous breakdown or even madness.
You feel like you're going in a roller coaster.
Yes.
Sometimes you are up, sometimes you are down.
People are quite aware of physical and sexual abuse today
Yes.
because of all the publicity that the
Me Too.
media is giving, the Me Too movement.
She has to make a lot of secret plans.
Should
in
have a
detail.
safe place where she can go to. If the parents are not willing to support her, then what is the safe place?
You should be very careful in choosing the shelter.
Is it because of this culture of silence that is prevalent here, or is it because this fatalistic idea that okay, what will be, it's my fate?
She also starts to lie because she doesn't know what to do.
She tries to put up a mask in front
Yes.
of people.
We must take steps to rescue the abused and expose the abusers.
You got to